welcome to Aussie Mail's Weave a Week again. Great to see everyone here. If just bear with me so I can set this up so I can see comments and things. If you're on and you're watching, give me a little call out so I can check that everything's working okay. All right. Okay. Hey Dawn, thanks for that. How are you, love? All right, I think everything's going okay. Linda, hello Linda. Sue, hi love. Kerry. Okay, looks like comments are coming through okay and everyone can hear me. That's great. No sound, Shirley. Is anybody else hearing okay? Hey, Michael and Hazel. Oh, Hazel, good to see you again. Susie. Okay. Has everybody else got sound? Can someone let me know? Because Shirley apparently isn't hearing me. Hello, Jane. Joe. Hi, Rowena. Thank you very much. Okay, sweet. Okay, so everything sounds good for everyone else, so perhaps something's up with Shirley's computer then. Beautiful. Hey, Catherine, glad you made it. Silver. Perfect. Loud and clear. Hope I'm not too loud, Linda. Excellent, Hazel. Thank you for letting me know. Found it, no sound problems. Beautiful. Okay, great, fantastic. All right, so this week we're doing Oops, which is a, hi Donna, which is another European 4-in-1 variant. Its other technical name is Unbalanced European 4-in-1. As I said in the event, and those that are in our subscription club and therefore got the tutorial early, we use a starter piece for this of European 4-in-1. So if you guys don't have that worked out, now would be the time to whip it up. I'm glad to hear she's fine, Sue. That's fantastic. Hey, Julie. Debbie, how are you? You're all popping on. Excellent. Okay, sorry if I've missed anybody. I think I've said hello to everyone that's come in. Oh, Wes, sorry you can't make it. Not to worry. That's all right. I haven't had my dinner yet either. We were a bit late here as well, so I get to have that one afterwards. Okay. All right, so what we might do is we might get this started if we've got everyone here. I'll just pop this over to the other view and we'll get going. Hey, Daryl, glad you made it. Chinese, oh, that'd be nice. Hey, Tracy. All right, I'll swap this over to the other view and we'll get going. All right. Okay, so Oops, as I said, is a European 4-in-1 variant. Its recommended AR is a little bit tighter than European 4-in-1 at 3.3. Like European though, it's fairly forgiving in the sizes that you use, and obviously the larger rings will make a more lacy look. Again, I prefer the tighter look for Oops. But that's just a personal preference. Pumpkin soup, yeah, it's coming into soup time, Annette. I'd love to be making some pumpkin soup shortly. All right, so those of you who are part of our mail club would have got the kits and are using the 14 gauge rings, which is the 5.25 millimeter ID. So this is what your bracelet will look like when it's done. So it's not super tight, but it's I quite like it. It's a good balance. You could go a little bit tighter, but I wouldn't want to go too much tighter than that. For 16 gauge, I've done up a 5/32. So that's the 14 gauge. That's the 16 gauge there. So that looks fabulous in the AA. I quite like the two colours. And then in the 18 gauge, this is the 9/64ths, which is a little bit bigger than the recommended AR size, so it's a little bit loose. The recommended A size is closer to 3.25. So there's this one here. A little bit tighter, as you can see, it's a little bit tighter than the 9/64ths, which is the 3.5. It's, both of them work really well. And I was super crazy and went down to the 20 gauge, which I used 7/64ths for. That's quite a light, very small, fine bracelet. So that's the different gauges there for you, all the way from 14 down to 20. It is actually quite silky, Ray. I was surprised, and I think Chris was surprised also how much he liked this weave. I think he insinuated that I perhaps should make him a shirt or something out of it, which it is a bit of a ring hog, a little time consuming. I imagine it would look fabulous as clothes, but it would take incredibly long time to make anything. Okay, so if we're ready to go, if everyone's right with those sizes, it is extremely dainty in the 20 gauge. Almost, you know, it almost disappears. You may even want to make it thicker or wider than that. Okay, all right, so as I said, we start with a piece of European 4-in-1. It's the easiest way to do it. You can also just string some rings on a piece of wire or a twist tie or something. The reason why I chose the European 4-in-1 is it gives you an indication of the layering of the rings to follow. Without that, when you're starting at first, you may not get the rings in the right layer, and it can bind it up really quickly. All right, so with this one, the length of the piece of European, or the length of the starter piece, is how wide your bracelet's going to be. So this one makes the one that is 5 rings wide. As I said, this is the finished piece here. If you want it wider than that, then you can start off with a longer piece of European 4-in-1. Okay, so we're going to hold it on the side, because what we're actually going to do is we're going to incorporate these side rings into the weave. The middle and the other side actually get taken away a little bit later. Okay, so putting your starter piece on the side with an open ring, all we're going to do is scoop up rings 1, 2, and 3. Scoop them all up with that ring, and we're just going to close that up. Okay. Now, as I was talking about with the layering, we want this ring, this row that we're working on, to have the same layering as, not the row that we're actually putting it into, but the row before. So we want it to be layered the same way, in this case, as the middle row of our European starter piece. Okay, so we're going to this time put a new ring through rings 5, 4, and 3 again, and following that layering, we're going to go in front of the ring that we just placed. So 5, 4, and 3. I just haven't opened my ring up quite far enough. Bear with me, I haven't opened it up. There we go. So 5, 4, and 3, layering it in front of the ring that we placed first. Close that up. Okay, and you can see that the layering there mimics the layering that we just did. Okay, so we haven't quite finished this row. Each row is a 2-step process. So we've put those 2 rings in. And keeping with the layering, we're going to pop one open ring on our first ring, just our first ring. Okay, so this is ignoring the 2 rings that we just placed. This is the first ring of the 5 there of our starter piece. We're going to pop that ring up the top, and we're going to make sure it's behind that first ring that we placed. Close it up with another open ring. We need to go down to ring number 3, okay, which is between the 2 rings that we put in our first step. And we're going to slip it through just ring number 3. So it sits in front of that first ring we placed, but behind the second ring. Okay, and the 5th ring, because each row has 5 rings, we're going to take it down to the last ring. We're going to pop it through just the last ring in front of the ring before it. I can see that. So through the last ring. Be careful you don't take it through that middle ring that's there. Don't do that. We just want it through the last of our starter piece, sitting in front of the rings that we've placed before it. And we close that up. Yeah, look, the Zurons are a really good pliers. As you can see, I use them quite a lot, and they're very light. They don't tire your hands out. They're great. All right, so your piece is starting to bind up a little bit. Don't get too worried about it. It will loosen up, and we, as I said, we do take away half of this starter piece anyway. So now we're back to our 5 rings again. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We always want to keep 5 rings in play. Okay, so we go through, pick up our, as before, pick up our open ring and put this through rings 3, 2, and 1. Close that up. Okay, and we're looking at the layering 2 rows back, so this layering here. Keep that in mind as we place our next ring. Okay, this ring goes through rings 5, 4, and 3, and keeping in the layering that we can see, it'll pop in behind that first ring. Okay, so the first time we did this, the second ring popped in front. This time it goes in behind it. Close that ring up. Okay, so just showing you that layering. This is the row that we just added. This is the row we're copying the layering of. Okay, so we need to finish up this row because each row of 5 rings is a 2-part process. We need to put a single ring on top of the first ring there. Keep with the layering. This time it's going to sit on top of that ring. Okay. Go down to ring number 3. Okay, and that goes just in between the middle of the 2 that we placed previously. Nice and easy. And then ring number 5, our last ring, on our final ring here, this time slipping in behind the previous rings. Close that up. Okay, so you're left with 5 rings again, and the layering going on top, on top, on top is the same as this row back here. So you can see the pattern starting to form. If you look at the rings that are totally in weave, you'll find that you've got 3 rings on one side and 1 ring on the other. So it is a European 4-in-1, but it's not 2 on one side and 2 on the other like it normally is. So you've got 3 rings on one side and 1 ring on the other. Okay, so we go back to the same step again. We've got our 5 rings that we need. We're going to go through ring 3, 3, 2 and 1. Sorry, I'm tripping over my own tongue tonight. Rings 3, 2 and 1. Close her up. Pop the second one in. Looking at the layering of this row here that we're going to be referencing, we can see that it's stacking up behind, so behind. The previous ring goes in front, the next ring goes in front, so we're going to pop that like that there. And close it up. Okay. So the second part of this row, we go back to our first of the 5 rings of the previous row. We put a single open ring on that, and we want that to be behind this ring here to keep with the layering pattern. Okay, we then want to go down to ring number 3, which sits in between those 2 that we placed previously. Make sure you put just through ring number 3. Close her up. Now you can see it's starting to loosen up. It's not so tight there anymore. And ring number 5, we go down to our last ring. And we pop that in, and it goes in front of the previous rings. It will need to be an odd number of rings, yes. You're right, Michael. So if you wanted to widen a little bit, you would have to go up to 7 or up to 9, like you've said. Yeah, Shirley, if you don't get the layering right, it binds up really quickly. So you'll know if you've done something wrong with the layering. It just, yeah, you can't go any further after the first couple of rows. So that's basically it. So there's 5 rings in each row, 2 steps to each row, and you have one row where the rings are placed in front, and the next row the rings are placed behind. So if you just keep in mind that you need to look at that row before, so not the row that you're working into, but the row before that, and have a look at the layering there and mimic that, you'll be fine. So we're going to go through rings 3, 2 and 1. And we'll close that up. Again, we're going to go through rings 5, 4 and 3, and keeping with the layering of that previous row down there, we're going to slip this one in behind the ring that we just added. Okay, so you've got your 2. And then to finish up this row, so that we've got 5 rings in the row, we're going to go back up to this first ring up here. I'm going to place 1 open ring, and we're going to sit this in front of the rings that we added previously. Okay, go down to ring number 3, which is in between the 2 rings that we just added before. Slip that in there. You'll see which way it goes in. You don't need to worry about the layering with that one. And then ring number 5, we go down to our last ring, and keeping in with the layering, because we've got it on top, on top, on top, on top, we can slip this one so it goes in behind there, so that the previous ring sits on top of it. Okay, and we just continue along like that. Two colours, different colour each layer, or alternate rings in each layer? I'm not sure what you're asking there, Michael. When I did multiples, it was random. I didn't put a pattern in. So it would be up to whatever you want it to look like. Okay, so I'm not going too fast for everybody. Are we okay here? It's actually, once you get into the pattern, it's really quite simple. I actually found this week to be very almost therapeutic this week. As you can see, I made up quite a lot of pieces and was quite happy doing it. They are a little ring intensive, so it does take a few rings to make a bracelet, but I really enjoyed weaving this week. Yeah, great use for the confetti, Shirley. As I said, I just mixed up 2 colours, but confetti would look absolutely fabulous in it. Cool. All right, well, we'll just keep weaving. If you're interested, if you need a copy of the tutorial, if you aren't part of our subscription group, who already have had the tutorial since the middle of the week, if you want a copy of this, just pop in the comments while we're live, and only while we're live, guys. So if you're watching this recorded version, I'm sorry we won't be able to send the tutorials out. Look, something totally unrelated. Let's see, it's Mother's Day tomorrow, so tell me what's your favourite flower. That'll do. Tell me what your favourite flower is. So pop that in the comments. While we're live, I will send out a copy of the tutorial to you guys, probably tomorrow or the day after. Okay, and we'll send that out to you. So just in the comments, just your favourite flower, please. You need to put your favourite flower in, please, Hazel. Otherwise, I won't send it out to you. Okay. Cool. All right, so you can all hear me. So I'll just keep weaving along. Just a little reminder for those that are still interested in joining up to our next lot of kits for next month. Sign up is still good for June's kits. It won't finish until the 21st of this month. So if you're still interested and you thought perhaps you'd missed out, there's still a bit of time there. So plain flower. No, Michael, that doesn't count. I need the smelly growing stuff, not the stuff that sits in the cupboard. You're going to have to be a little girl. You're going to have to grab your inner girl and tell us what your favourite flower is. Okay, also I will need you guys to be able to take messages on Facebook. If I can't message you directly, then you need to either send me a message or you guys will miss out. It's just too difficult to track down email addresses. So if you can make sure that I can message you, I will send that out to you either tomorrow or possibly Monday, depending on how my day goes. Okay, fantastic. All right, so we're just weaving along. So we've got our 5 rings again. Perfect. All right, so we're back to our 5 rings. So we want to scoop up rings 3, 2, and 1. Oh, and not stab ourselves with the pliers. That'd be good, wouldn't it? Big divot out of my ring. That wasn't clever. Okay, and then we pick up rings 5, 3, 5, 4, and 3, checking the layering out with the previous row. We can see that we need to tuck this ring in behind the ring we just placed, so we'll do that. Okay, and to finish it up, we put a single ring through the first ring. We're going to pop another ring through ring number 3 there. Okay, and final ring for the row. We go down to our last ring, keeping it all in the pattern. We pop that in so that it goes behind the rings before it. Okay, now finishing the weave off, if you get the tutorial explains how to finish the weave off. It will depend on what type of clasp you use and what gauge it is. So I found the 3-ring slide lock looks great on the 14 gauge. Obviously isn't going to look too good with any of the other gauges. I did put a 2-ring on the 16 and the 18 gauge. I'm not particularly thrilled with how that looks. I think the weave is a little bit thin for the clasp. So what you then need to do is taper it down to a single ring, like I've done here. If I can get that to see. Wait a minute. If I could do this way, the lighting's better. There we go. Taper it down to a single ring, and then you can attach a lobster clasp or a toggle clasp, something like that, to it. Instructions are in the tutorial. I won't show you how to do that tonight, but all those instructions are there for you. So that's pretty much it, I think, if everyone's okay. Oh, Wes, you turned up and I'm just finished. Well, that's all right. You've got the instructions, so you'll be fine. It is a very hungry weave, Michael. It does take quite a bit to do it. Cool. All right. Yeah, it would be fabulous for a piece of clothing. It's really it's quite a beautiful weave, actually. It makes a beautiful fabric. I'd love to have the time and the rings to make it you know, a bigger sheet. It would look absolutely beautiful. I'm glad you can sleep tonight, Shirley. All right, fantastic. Oh, that's great, Silver. I hope your sister likes it too. Yeah, look, Hazel, I'm not really into that particular style clasp at the moment for that bracelet, so I'm not concerned about the colour. For me, it was more about trying different clasps and seeing which ones fit. All right, Ray, thank you very much. Glad you could join us. Because we'll have it finished first, like last week, maybe. Yeah, he's rather quick at finishing it up, isn't he? All right. Okay, well, I really appreciate you guys coming along and joining in. I hope that explanation helps with it. It's actually a beautiful weave, and as long as you take notice of the layering, you'll be fine with it. Just keep that layering in mind. Like I said, you can start it without the European 4-in-1. I just find that starter piece helps you pick up the correct layering for the first time through. And you do take away part of the part of the starter piece as you end it up, and like I said, all that will be in the instructions, and it'll be cool. All right, so thank you guys very much for joining us. I hope all the mums out there have a great Mother's Day tomorrow, and or you get to spend time with your mum and relax and enjoy the day. Start your skirt again. I'm a bit oh, is that supposed to be a shirt, Wes, or are you making yourself a chainmail skirt? I'm all confused now. All right. Okay, fantastic. All right, guys, I've got to sign off and go. I've got to go pick up my youngest child from a birthday party, and it's actually his birthday as well today. So he's had a really big day, and I've got to go and rescue the other parents from a bunch of 12-year-old boys running around and hoo-haing. So I hope you all have a great hope you all have a great time. Enjoy the weave. Post pictures up of when you've done. That would be absolutely fantastic. I loved looking at all the Valera's dragon spines this last week. They were fabulous. All right, guys, take care. Thank you very much, and I will catch you all next week. Bye.